Welcome back to another episode of The Art of Unraveling. I am Erin McGuire, and I am here with a familiar voice. We still have a podcast that I have not yet posted that you and I did that I just need to post. I was like waiting for the right timing, but I think I just need to get it out there because there was some good stuff we talked about in there. Anyway, welcoming back Juli Ireland to the podcast.
Thank
Woo!
you. Thank you. Good to be here. Appreciate it.
Yes, Juli, in case you haven't listened to a previous podcast with her, she found me on a Facebook ad years ago and signed up for my alchemy coaching and healing program, and has since been on some retreats and yeah, has become a friend and colleague and yeah, all the things. So
Yeah.
thank you, Facebook.
I
Thanks for
second that.
introducing us, Facebook.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share about you, Juli? Or do you just want to dive in?
Um, we can just dive in. I mean,
Okay.
I'm a mom to two grown kids, daughters that live far away from me. Single and I think one of the things I don't think I've shared with the audiences is that, what prompted me to reach out to you was I was going through a lot of changes in life and uh, had been paying a lot of attention and doing a lot of self work, like doing the work, right? Um,
Hmm.
but knew I needed like a little more individualized coaching and attention. But then also like while I was working with other women in some of the classes I was taking, the leaders were not women.
Oh.
And so what I also determined was, I need to find a woman who can kind of help me navigate some of this stuff. Because I don't care what anybody says, being a woman navigating lots of life transitions at once and whatnot, like we need that female perspective. Not to discount any of my other coaches and healers that I worked with, but that also was one of the things that motivated me when I saw your ad that came up. And I don't think I've ever actually fully talked about that, but it is
No.
important. Um, it's critically important because I think as women, we bring a unique perspective and a unique ability to support each other that gets, that is sometimes, taken advantage of or even overlooked. Um,
Mhm.
and like, that's what it took for me really to kind of jump in and really do a lot of really hard work was to feel that support, just like that feminine balance, right? That feminine kind of caregiver kind of, I've got you and I'm supporting you, um, kind of mentality that came with that connection. So, um,
It's a really good point.
yeah.
Not thought about before. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I have like obviously, but yeah, I think at different times in our life we need different things. And
Right.
sometimes we need to be more nurtured,
Yes.
held, and sometimes we need somebody to push us, right? And
Right. Yeah. Yep.
sometimes we can do both. Certain people can do both.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yep. Yeah.
Mm, well, I'm grateful that you found the ad and found me.
I am too.
And Julie reached out to me about this podcast, which I love. So if you're listening and you're like, I have an idea for a podcast, message me. Who knows? But I loved her idea. She's like, I'd love to do a podcast on the power of retreat. And I thought that was just perfect. Um, she just got back from my Italy retreat and I know a lot happened for you there. So, where do you want to start?
Yeah. It's funny because I was talking to Win last weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend
Was on the
before. And
another retreat person in Italy.
yeah, and we were just connecting, and we were trying to determine how long we'd actually been back. And I was like, it's only been 2 weeks. And she's like, really? And I looked at my calendar. I said, yeah, it's only been 2 weeks. It feels like 6 months, but it's only been 2 weeks.
I felt the same way when I was back for a week. It felt like it was
Yeah.
like 4 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and
I
I
don't know what
think,
that's about.
well, so I kind of, after I had a conversation with Win, and, we moved on with our days, I wanted to sit with that because, we talk a lot about how time is just a construct, but we also, like, what made it feel that way? Like, what actually, why was it so different? And I think in that moment for me, that's when the power of retreat really started pinging in my brain, was because we were completely removed from life as we know it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we're in this beautiful place with this amazing group of women, with an awesome leader who's curated this adventure for us, but also doing things to tune in intentionally every day, like
Yeah.
yoga or meditation or both, or the things that we were doing were designed to bring us out of all the other stuff and just bring us right here. And I think that was it, because time, I mean, yeah, we went through the days and we had our scheduled meals and all that, but time wasn't really a thing while we were there.
No.
But then when you're got to get to the airport because you got to catch a flight, like, that whole mentality starts clicking back in, right? And I think that was the difference. Like, the minute you're back in town, back in your normal life, and I took 2 days off, which we're going to talk about later, when I got back. Um, and then I went back to work, and just having that time, but then, like, fully integrating back into the normal life was like, oh my God, this is exhausting. and, and you start thinking about all the things that you do on a daily basis. And it's just like, yeah, no wonder this feels like my Italy trip
Feel.
was 6 months ago, because I've just been doing so much.
Doing being the key word.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Where one of your retreats is all about being,
Yeah.
just being. Um, yeah.
And especially this one. So Italy was
Mm-hmm.
balancing the feminine and masculine energies, and it just kind of veered more into talking more about the feminine, because that's so hard for people in Western culture to, and everybody has feminine and masculine energy, but it's very hard for people in Western cultures to be.
Yes.
It's near
Yeah.
impossible. And our society completely is made up of nothing, like it's so antithesis of that.
Yeah.
So
I,
I
that
think
was
it's
one of
really
the
important.
things. Sorry. That was one of the things I appreciated most about being in Italy, was that even in the midst of Rome, which sometimes felt like a chaotic city, but even in the midst of Rome, the mentality is completely different.
Tell us about that. What do you mean?
Like, the only time you see people, at least this was my
Your
perception,
experience.
was the only time you saw people doing was, the bus is coming, we got to make sure we get on it, or our tickets say this is our time to go be in this place, we got to make sure we're there. But other than that, like, people are just absorbing where they are and sometimes the people around them, and admiring like what's in front of them. And that's just not something that we do here.
Yeah.
And I noticed it even more when we got out of Rome. Because the Italian people, like, I had no idea that they just shut everything down in the afternoon for like 2 hours. And I was like,
Longer. I
wow.
mean, from
Yeah.
like 2:30 to 7:30 p.m., if you want to eat at a restaurant, it's damn near impossible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
restaurants
And
don't
even
open for
like,
dinner until 7:30.
yep. And even gas stations close for those periods of times in the afternoon.
Yep.
Riposo.
Thanks. Yep. All
Yep.
kinds.
And I was like, what a concept, right? And then you just kind of like, when you spend time with Italian people that you see for more than a couple hours, like when you're doing touristy things, right? You understand the impact of that time because they're more chill. Like they can be very direct. And we talked about that on the trip, right? Like Italians will tell you exactly what they're thinking, which is great because they're so in tune with like their lifestyle. They don't have to like candy coat anything. They just are who they are, and everybody's okay with that, which is also completely not how it is here, right? And just being appreciative of, they mindfully approach every day of, we take this time to not do stuff in service of others. It's our time, whether
Yeah.
that be with our friends or our families or ourselves. We don't have to be in service of others or the community or the general public. Like this is our time.
Yeah.
And then I think that's also what allows, like, everyone we encountered was so hospitable and so nice and so nurturing, that it's like, to me, it's because that's how they take care of themselves, is they're
Mm.
they're living a completely different lifestyle, and they're taking active time every day to refill their cups.
Right.
Like what a concept, right?
I know when you break it down like that, it's like, yeah, then you can be more relaxed. You can be more, and it's not to say that all Italians are that way. We don't want to generalize. I met some pretty cranky, overworked
Sure.
Italians, especially cab drivers. Woo.
Mhm. Mhm.
But we're generalizing in a sense that the majority, like the sense that we got, um, is that that's the way it
Yeah.
is for the
Yeah.
most.
Mhm.
And I've always heard in the bigger cities it's different. They are more westernized. But yeah, when you get like they in the cities, they're not always taking those breaks. But when you get outside of any major um town country in the Mediterranean, I would say, because I've
Mhm.
experienced this in Greece and Spain,
Mhm.
very much in Spain. It's kind of that similar vibe that, and it's the European way. Like they'll sit in the center of the town and like, feed the pigeons or like talk or meet up with your friends in the city center. Like
Mhm.
there's usually a big fountain and everybody's sitting on the steps, and it's a beautiful way of life that they have. So I love that we're talking
Mhm.
about this because it is much different than ours. We're more
Yeah.
isolated. We're more independent.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that too is one of my takeaways too, of how do I find the balance between isolation and independence, and, you know, connection
Yeah.
and community, um and just, I don't know, building better relationships, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Connect.
lots of takeaways when you fully immerse in a retreat, lots of little nuggets like that. And, it's why I wanted to talk about it, because there's so much power in it. And,
Mm.
we've talked about that before too, is that the things that we experience on retreat start when we set the intention. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is when you pay your deposit and or book your flight, you're telling the universe that you're open to whatever opportunities or experiences are coming, that you're open to them, and that you're ready for whatever shift might occur as a result. And what the universe does with that is divine. What they do with that is they start like, okay, we're going to work. What do you want to work on? Right.
Right.
So,
Here's some stuff.
yeah, here, let me hand over this pile. Here's all the stuff I want to work on.
Like,
Or here's all the
I've
stuff that's
been
coming
waiting
up.
for this day.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so, I think we underestimate our intention and the power that that alone has. And you hear people talk about it, especially in the type of work that we do, that, it's about focusing your intention on your, and using that to focus your attention, and like really being mindful of what your intention is. Well, we underestimate the power of what that actually is, especially when we talk about disconnecting from our life, normal life, to be able to do a retreat.
Right.
And so, um, don't be surprised when things start to happen right before you even get on the plane to join your retreat group, because it will.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that
and
might
that's
sound scary to some people, but it's, as I always like to say, this is what you want. You want opportunities to move through these things, because I was talking to somebody a while ago that's coming to Thailand, and this is her first retreat, I think, and it's her first time traveling alone, and there's a lot of fear. And she's worried about stuff that's going to come up, and it's like, that stuff, yeah, it's tough when those things start coming up, but trust me, they are affecting you on a daily basis. It's just a matter of, yeah, when you're ready
mm-hmm.
to look at some of that stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
It doesn't
And
have to be scary. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. You get to move through it in your way.
yeah, and I think that's a good segue into, just because it feels uncomfortable doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
Right. Like, sometimes our gut reaction to something that feels uncomfortable is to be afraid. And so I think what I would challenge everyone to consider is, just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's scary. And can you look at what's coming up and just observe it? Take note of it. Start your
Yeah.
journal, like start a journal when you pay your deposit or book your flight, whatever. Start your journal then, because that's where you can start recording these things, right?
Yeah.
And just keep track. Like, maybe the fights between you and your significant other increase. There might be something to look at with that, right? Maybe stuff at work starts getting a little janky. There might be something to look at with that. But instead of like judging it like you're doing something wrong or that it's a bad situation, just make a note, make an observation.
I'm just
This is
observing.
what's happening. Yep, I'm just observing.
That's a really good
Because
point. I think we get into fix it mode with stuff, or like you said, it makes us feel like there's something wrong, or like, oh my gosh, I've got to go back to when I was 5 and find this experience. I mean,
mm-hmm.
what if it's
Right.
just like, observe it, like it's there for you to see it
Yep.
and face it, and not, yeah, you don't have to like psychoanalyze it.
Right. Exactly. Because I think that's also a trap we fall into when we're so actively in doing this work every day, but also helping others with the work, is we sometimes get stuck in the hamster wheel of, oh my God, what inner child incident is this related to? Or,
Yeah.
what part of my shadow work did I miss? Whatever that is, instead of, hey, sometimes just feeling a certain way about a situation is just feeling a certain way about it. And it's okay. Like, it doesn't mean you've got to go do some digging and figure everything out. It just means, oh, this is a thing. I might want to come back to this later. Or you might
Yeah.
not. Maybe
Yeah.
the observation was all you needed to get out of it, and just noticing that it's a
It's like,
thing.
I just had the image of like, it's like a little bump in a road. Like,
Right.
don't let you don't let the bump stop you,
Right.
but you slow down your car so that you can get over the bump safely. Because if you fly over it, that's not good either. You're gonna. I did that recently in Chicago. I missed one of the little bumper things, and man, my car scraped the bottom of. That's not good. So
Hmm.
fly over it, and we can't ignore it because it's there and there's nowhere else to go. But can we just slow down and say, "Oh, I'm approaching a bump."
Hmm.
That was the
That's
image
a
that came.
great analogy. That is a great analogy. That's
I know. Thank
perfect.
you, Spirit. Um,
Yes.
that is a perfect analogy. Yeah, because we just get into fix it mode and
Hmm.
psychoanalyzing mode. But yeah, I wanted to say too that Julie, what she didn't know, but I think I kind of shared, is like I start to create a vortex of energy um, with my intentions, my thoughts, and actually sending energy to the future. Believe it or not, you can do that. And I create a vortex for these retreats. So when you put down your deposit, yes, you're entering into that vortex of energy that's healing, that's supportive, that's, a little cocoon,
Hmm.
but is going to, prepare you energetically, meaning like Julie's saying, it might bring up some things to prepare
Hmm.
you for what's to come when you do the retreat, because so much happens. Energy work is very subtle, and so much happens when you're spending a week away from your life with like-minded people doing deep work,
Hmm.
through the land, through the culture, observing the culture, through the practices we do with me. Um,
Hmm.
it's phenomenal, like what can happen in a week's time. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to say that about your point of it starts to shift. Yes, and I've created a vortex for it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because, to add on to that, what happens once you get to the retreat, right? And for me, this time it was like when I got on the plane. And so it might be like that for others too. But you've officially stepped into a place where you are now no longer in your normal life, right? Somebody's taking care of the kids or the pets or whatever. You're not working. It's no longer about all the things you have to do and accomplish in a day. Now it's all about you. Um, and that, you know, spending some time consciously relaxing into that thought that, okay, it's all about me now.
Yeah,
And
because a lot of women have a hard time with that.
yes, yes, exactly. Um,
A lot of us get
and
our value from what we do for others. And so and I'll see it, those people will be the ones doing for others on the retreat. I'm winking at you, Julie. Um,
what?
although there was some reasons we let it
There were.
happen.
We did let it
Um,
happen. Yep.
but they often are
Yeah.
so challenged by that they want to serve the other women or people on the retreat too.
Hmm.
And it's really about like that's a pattern we've got to unwind, because that leads to a myriad of issues physically, mentally, emotionally, when you are putting everything outside of you, your value in what you do for others.
Hmm.
Let
Yep.
that be a part of you. Anyway, we could go on about all the things, but
Yep.
women
Yes.
have, that's a big one. Women, that's ingrained in us, you
Uh-huh.
know it's society that what we do for others is important.
Yeah, that's what we learn growing up. It's how we're educated, especially as women,
Yeah.
that it's our job not only to take care of ourselves, but also everybody else, and maintain a full-time job, and make sure the
Yeah.
house is clean, and like all the things. And that is it. At this point, it's also generational, right? So it is hard, particularly as women, when we get on that plane, to relax into it is really all about me now. And I don't have to worry about any of that other stuff. I've enlisted the support of people who love and care for me, to love and care for all the things that need to be taken care of while I'm gone, and being able to let that go, so that then, like, your mind and your heart are open to what's coming in the
Mhm.
actual retreat space. Um, and I think the more time we're able to spend really opening up to that and connecting with what's been happening, what do I want to get out of this? Why did I say I was going to do this to begin with? What was my intention? Um, and just having that space to kind of get a little clarity around what's coming up. Because then
Yeah.
the next thing that happens is you end up connecting with, and this is true when I went to Bali with you in 2020 before COVID shut everything down. This was
Yeah.
true when I went to Ireland with you last September, and it was definitely true this time in Italy. You connect with a group of incredible people, most of whom you've never met, and they're all they're all just incredible humans. Like,
Yeah.
and you can be in that space and be with these people, and you may not end up being best friends with everybody by the time the retreat's over, but it's still a genuinely phenomenal experience because of the energy that's created, both with the vortex that you've set up, Erin, but also with the energy that everybody's bringing on the retreat, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone's intentions, strangely enough, what line up? Like, like
Right.
it's just, I don't know how else to describe it, but to take all that work you're doing for yourself and giving yourself the gift of just being, you're supported by all the other people on the retreat who are doing the same thing. They are all there because they've chosen to give themselves the gift to just be for a week.
Right.
And it is so unbelievable, the energy that gets created for each individual, but also for that collective group. And I don't know, I'm sure everybody else noticed it too, but the people that were around us, the people that we saw, the people that we interacted with as a group noticed it too. Like,
Yeah.
there was just something different about our group.
People
And
would say that to me, like,
yes.
they're like, you guys are so kind, or, like, it was pointed out to me several different times
Hmm.
by Italians.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, for me personally, it was nice to just really be in the experience of being, and not like, I knew I didn't have to do anything. Like, there was one morning I completely slept through morning yoga, and I sat straight up in bed and was like, I'm missing yoga. And I was like, but I slept so well. And it was like,
Right.
nobody's going to care that I missed yoga. I needed to sleep. It's fine. Like,
Yeah.
um even in that instance, like, being mindful of how quickly our mind goes to, oh, I was supposed to be somewhere, but really
Right.
not. My one of it's important to care for yourself no matter where you're at, but I think when you're on retreat, it's easier to do all of that, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have all the other demands on you. But again, that, and I'm going to say it again, that is part of giving myself the gift to just be, and not have to do all the things or be something for somebody else. Like, it is really all about you in those moments, and to embrace that and understand that, like, that's how we're designed as humans. Like, really, that's how we're designed. We have to give ourselves that time because nobody else is going to give it to us.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
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 And the world is just absolutely insane. Like we'll just
Yes.
be caught up on our cell phones all day. Like
Mhm.
just all the things. Yeah, just all the distractions, all the things that deplete you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking too about, even like our meals and how long, you know,
Ugh.
like a 3-hour dinner minimum. And
Right?
that's so the Mediterranean, that's
Yep.
definitely the way.
Yep.
Um, just like I would staying up so late for me.
Same.
And like not even as the retreat leader, even though I was working, I wasn't even that tired because you're just so filled up on life, That's
Mhm.
always something. That was only my second time in Italy, but that's what I recognized about Italy the first time is that they're living, they're like
Yes.
taking pleasure in life. Dolce
Mhm.
far niente, the sweetness of life, like
Yes.
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like they do such a good job of that.
They do, because that's one of the things too, Aaron, about the 3-hour dinners. Like, I remember thinking, first of all, I don't stay up till 10:30 at night. I just don't do it. I can't. But in Italy, it was super easy. And
Yeah.
you'd go back to your room and wash your face, brush your teeth, lay down, go to sleep, fall asleep in a hot second, and sleep like a baby, and then get up the next morning. I mean, I probably slept till 6 or 6:30, but still waking up feeling fully refreshed, not beleaguering the point that I had just spent 3 hours at dinner the night before, right? Like,
Right.
it was because it was such a joyous experience, and you're not shoving a bunch of food in your, like, dinner is an experience. It's not the sole purpose of eating. It's an experience, and it's a time for you to relax and enjoy the company of others. And that was true everywhere we went in Italy.
Yeah.
I mean, even for those of us that came in early, right? And stayed at
Yeah.
the one of the hotels, like, even the experience in that hotel was, you're here for an experience. Take your time. They're not all over you trying to kick you off your table for the next customers that are coming in.
No.
So, also another big takeaway, because one of the things I thought of when I came back was, weird. Usually, if I eat something within 2 hours before I go to bed, I have stomach issues in the middle of the night. Did not have that problem in Italy.
Yeah, the food quality is just on another level.
For sure. And
Everything is homemade, like
oh,
most restaurants make their own pasta. I mean, I think it's like you're
yeah.
not a true Italian restaurant unless you make your own pasta. But I did go
Yes.
to some that I was questioning. One, I'd say one, I had a couple bad experiences,
Did you?
and I don't want to say bad, but like just not, I was like, really? I thought every meal in Italy was like a 10. Um, So a couple isn't bad, but
Yeah.
most places, if you're eating pasta, they made the pasta.
Mhm.
Everything's just
Yeah.
fresh
Yep.
ingredients, homemade
Yeah.
sauces, simple,
Mhm.
like simple food too, not overly complicated.
Right. Yeah. I just That was such a different experience for me. And I remember thinking the first night we had dinner so late, thinking I'm going to be sick in the middle of the night. And I wasn't. And
Wow.
it's just not, yeah, there's a lot less garbage in their food, which is
Yeah.
a topic for a whole different podcast. But
Yeah. Writing it down.
yeah, do it.
And that's known in Europe, with their makeup and skincare
Hmm.
as well as their food. They just don't have the chemicals that we have here. They don't
Right.
have they have processed foods, but and
Yeah.
and they have convenience foods because our
Yes.
grocery store, but That's not the main source of their diet.
No,
It's not the way most Italians are eating.
no. And even if you do happen to grab a bag of potato chips off the shelf, no joke. It's three ingredients: potatoes, oil, and salt.
Depends
I
on the pack,
checked.
but yeah, if it's from Italy,
If it's
probably,
from Italy, it's those three
yeah,
ingredients.
yeah,
Not here. Not here. But
no, it,
anyway,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so the food quality just in Europe in general is just next level
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
is a stark contrast to what we eat.
Very much so. And that was true in Bali too, obviously. And I'm sure it's going to be true in Thailand.
Yes, with a private Thai vegan chef. Yes.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's just
and
that's the hard part is
mhm.
learning that and experiencing that and then coming home. But there are ways here in the US to have better quality food. It's just sometimes costs more and also requires you to do some digging and some reading of labels and,
Mhm.
just staying away from those processed foods. Because
Yep.
if you're picking up something convenience wise, it's not going to be great.
Yeah,
I
it's
I
definitely
still eat
not.
convenience foods. I do. I will be honest. I eat convenience foods, but I eat the organic versions with the least amount of ingredients I can find because
Mhm.
I don't want to cook a 5-course meal every night of the week, nor do I have the time or the energy.
Yeah.
So, but in that case,
Mhm.
I'm getting 10 chicken strips for like $13, and some people just don't want to, and they're not that big.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you have, yeah, you find your flow there. Anyway,
Yeah,
we're getting
for
away
sure.
from the topic, but
Actually, that was a really great segue, honestly, into
pretty good.
like I guess maybe our last topic. I don't know. And that is integrating integrating your experience on your return.
Ooh, tell us about
Yeah.
that. And I want to hear some
So
examples from your life too.
absolutely. So the first thing I will tell everybody until the end of time, when you go on retreat, do not plan to go back to work the next day. And I don't care if it's a United States based retreat or a international retreat. Do not plan to go back to work the next day.
You've always been really good about that.
I
What
have.
what made you do that even from the beginning?
Honestly, so when I went to Bali, the thing that made me do it was I was concerned about jet lag. Um,
Yeah.
and did not want to experience jet lag while trying to work. And so I was like, I was going to give myself 2 days to get readjusted or reacclimatized to my time zone. And it worked like a champ, you know, back
Yeah.
then. And what I didn't appreciate then, it wasn't just about the jet lag. I mean, it was. I mean, that was why I set it up that way originally. But the other gift that came with it was being able to just sit with everything I had experienced in the previous 8 or 9 days and just like really be in gratitude for that
Mhm.
experience and really just connect with myself and the divine source energy, universe, God, whatever you call that in your life, to just be thankful for the opportunity. And not just that, but for the people that you meet, for the food that you eat, for the ground that you experience, that you walk on, that you put your hands on, like for everything. And holding that space um, allows, at least for me, the download of some of the stuff, of a lot of the things. Like, what did I get from this retreat? Oh my gosh, there's this and there's that. And, I had more clarity about how I saw myself in the professional world. I had more
Mm,
clarity about how I saw myself in some of my most significant relationships and how I could be different and how I wanted to be different. Um, had more clarity in, claiming my gifts,
mm,
and really being okay and comfortable with, all right, so I have this capability to be a psychic medium. And when I'm in it and I'm doing it, it's pretty cool. And figuring out, like, being able to sit down and go, okay, how can I do this more? Because when you're doing what you love and you're you're not working. I mean, like, you are, but it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like labor because it comes so naturally, and it's such a uplifting experience to know you're in your zone. And it just so happens to benefit other people. Like, how is that not perfect? How is that not of divine guidance and divine intention? It
that's
is.
my question.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and to be able to have space for that and to be able to devote time and energy to that and build that connection or strengthen that connection to your divine gifts. I mean, honestly, that was the best gift I gave to myself out of this retreat, was to really solidify some connections to my divine purpose, and fully embrace being able to offer those to the world. Like, I know I'm here on the planet to do that for people. I know I'm here on the planet to love people unconditionally. I know I'm here on the planet to hold space and provide opportunities for people to change and grow when they've identified that that's what they want to do.
Right.
Um, I know I'm here to empower people. And like, this was, I mean, I told you, like, activating my business. Like, it's not starting it, it's activating it. It's embracing that, yep, this is me, this is who I am. I'm putting myself out here because I know I have these things and these are what really bring me joy. I mean, am I grateful for my 9 to 5 job in corporate America? Hell yeah, because it's afforded me opportunities to be able to do this, right? To be able to go on these retreats, to be able to hire you as a coach, to go through your alchemy training, to do a lot of the other healing that I've done.
Yeah.
And I also know that when I'm in my purpose and providing that gift to myself and to the world, abundance comes with it. Right. And so that for me is also like, you have to give yourself, and I'm just saying, 2 days minimum. If you can take like the rest of the week off, do it, people, because integrating the experience you just had over 8 solid days of doing nothing but caring for yourself and being who you are, like, it is a gift to have that time to not jump back in to
Right.
your normal life that you had when you got on the plane to go on retreat. Is not that anymore. And it's because you're different.
Mm,
And I think what I'm saying is, embrace that difference and keep it alive, because that was part of you being on retreat as well. That's part of you bringing forth the new into your reality and into the reality of the people around you, right? And that's part of how we heal the world, right? Like,
yeah.
we use those opportunities to be different, um and be different when you come back. It's okay, the people that love you are still going to love you. Like, it's
Yeah.
okay. And it's really
Thank you.
okay to give yourself the time to just sit with that and journal about it, or call one of your friends you made on the trip, or call Aaron, or call somebody else who knew you were doing it and download some of that information, because there's a lot that comes up for you. There's a lot that came up for me, and it's the third retreat I've been on, right? And
Yeah.
so I, just giving yourself that time is so important because you there's nothing like being able to stay in that rest, to stay in that space before you jump back in. That's
Yeah,
all.
'cause you're training your brain in that way too, for while you're
Right.
here. Otherwise, if you go right back to the old, the brain, there's a disconnect, and
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I can speak for somebody who has a more, I would say, anxious, uh that's my stress tendency, right? Is to go into anxiety or stress,
Mhm.
or like the doing, being more in the masculine sometimes. Um,
Mhm.
integrating, even as a teacher who knows all this stuff, it's still
Mhm.
not, I would say I do it by default just because my body's like, we're tired and you're not working today,
Right. Yep.
To be intentional with it, like you're saying, I think is a whole other thing. And I think that's really important.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Because the retreat doesn't really end when it's over, right?
Yeah, you're making me think I even need to write something into the people that come, like make sure you're
Mhm.
integrating this. And yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think that's a good idea because the retreat doesn't really end when it's over. Like there is integration, and you have to give yourself that space and that time to be able to integrate your experience on retreat. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's also another gift you're giving yourself.
Yeah, I like that you keep saying it's a gift. The whole dang thing is a gift you're giving yourself. And
Yes.
you do change. You do come back different. I come back, I'm not even on retreat. I'm
Mhm.
experiencing it to a fourth of the degree that you guys actually are that are on it.
Mhm.
And I come back changed every time. I always make sure to give myself time as the leader before, because I don't want to be jet lagged when I'm teaching, because I know myself and my body, and that's not good for anybody. Um,
Mhm.
and usually I give myself a lot of time afterwards. Now I'm going to intentionally call it integration. I just call it, I need some time off after being on for 7, 8 days straight. Um,
Yep.
but I didn't get that this time, and
Mhm.
as much as I usually do, because of my current life situation.
Right.
But I don't know where I was going with that, but it's important, and you change. What I was saying is I change too as the teacher,
Yeah.
like the
Mhm.
leader. Every retreat shifts something in me, and I can just share, like, it's beautiful to witness, just the connections that are made, and
Mhm.
the friendships that are made, the sisterhood, the brotherhood, if there's men. Not all my
Mhm.
retreats are just women. Um, and just like all the shifting that happens, and it's like I'm shifting too. Like things are coming up for me, there's sometimes there's discord in the group. Like it happens on occasion.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's like a thing, but it happens. And being able to just like kind of hold the energy for the group to move through that without, as we talked about earlier, having to fix it. Um,
Mhm.
that's a powerful thing for me personally, just from my journey and my life experiences, my childhood traumas.
Yep.
Um, Julie and I talk about that all the time, just like, yeah, so it just a lot changes in you, like sometimes on a profound level, and sometimes on very subtle levels.
Mhm.
And so if you
Yeah.
don't give yourself the time and space to feel into that and to notice that, you'll just get right back into the go mode, and you'll miss some things, I think. So that's a really
Yep.
good.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been delightful. And you've shared so much, I think, wisdom about the experience. And yeah, it took me back to Italy for a little bit, and it's so lovely there. So lovely.
It is. Yep. I go back every day.
Good. Good on you. What would you, Julie? I mean, I think I say, but I'm gonna ask the question anyway. What would you
Mhm.
tell somebody that's like, I'm on the fence about this. I'm worried. I'm unsure if I should do this. I don't have anybody to travel with. This is my first time traveling
Mm.
alone.
Mhm.
Or all the insecurities and fears that come up when we think about doing something like this.
Yeah, for sure. You know, a lot. I mean, first of all, traveling alone, it's not as daunting as it sounds. Um, and in particular with Aaron's retreats, and I'll tell you why. Like, you get really good information about where you need to be, when you need to be there, and who's going to be looking out for you. And like, even when I was traveling to Ireland, I was traveling alone and still knew that once I got to the hotel, there were going to be other people who were joining the retreat with me. So,
Yeah.
and navigating airports, it can be really intimidating, but there's always time to check a sign.
Yeah.
And there's always somebody that you can ask. I mean, and people, honestly, especially in airports, people are willing to help because they know people get disoriented. Um, but I can also tell you, just from being on retreat, or even I used to travel a lot for work. So traveling alone was not a huge thing for me. Traveling internationally alone felt a little, but I handled it fine. It's just a longer flight. um,
Right.
but you still, like, when you meet up with the group, like
All
one,
that goes
like
away.
the last thing you're thinking about is, oh my God, traveling alone was so nerve-wracking. Like,
Yeah.
that's not even a topic of discussion because it's like done and over with. You did it, and here you are. You know, again, my kids were grown when I started doing these types of retreats, so I don't have that same perspective. I did, however, travel a lot when my kids were very young, and that is
Mm,
hard.
yeah.
And I will also say, as a woman, I think it's hard for us to trust our spouse or our
Yes.
partners to do the things that we do in the same way that we do. So here's the news flash: they don't, and that's okay.
And that's great.
Like, yeah, that's great. Nobody does things the way you do, and that's great. Be willing to let all that happen while you're gone, because you chose to, you have other adults that are fully capable of taking care of children. I don't care how old they are. There are other adults in their lives that are fully capable of taking care of them. Be willing to let that go. Same way with pets. Like, like, I understand that because I have a pet, but you trust people to take care of them and to be able to let that go. I know another thing that comes up for people is the money.
Mm,
It's not cheap to travel internationally anymore. And
right.
it's not cheap to go on retreat. But I will tell you this: it is money well spent,
Mm,
because you are not only are you giving yourself a gift, you are investing in yourself
yeah.
by giving yourself time to just not do all the things and be all the things to everybody back home. This is really all about you. And it is money well spent because, again, I can only speak for Aaron's retreats, but your experiences are worth way more than what you pay.
Mm,
And that's just how the universe works with Aaron. I'm just going to tell you, she finds the most amazing people, and the universe pairs her with the most amazing people with these experiences that you will not regret spending a single cent by the time you get on the airplane to go home. You just won't. because they're amazing experiences, and you didn't have to do anything except pay for it.
Right.
And show up. I mean, you had to show up too, but
You have to
like,
show up.
yeah. And again, I'm not diminishing the cost. It is expensive.
Yeah.
But it's worth every cent. And it's not just, you are investing in your well-being there. That's what
Yeah.
I'm looking for. You're investing in your well-being because you are allowing yourself to just get away and do something that is just for you. And that adds longevity to your life, to your
Ooh,
relationships. Yeah, it does. You
it
come
really does.
back, it does. You're giving yourself an opportunity to refresh and renew. You know, you may not have some big orbital, intense spiritual experience, but you might.
You
And even
might.
if you don't, yeah. And even if you don't, you're still going to be rested and you're still going to be renewed when you come back.
Yeah.
And that is priceless. That adding to the longevity of your life is priceless. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
We cannot keep going at the rate that we try to go in our day-to-day lives. So when
no.
you take a break, it's also priceless the clarity that you get. I mean, you mentioned all the clarity you received. Like you may not have
Mm-hmm.
download, but you get clarity because you have the time and space to have the clarity come to you of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is what I want in my job or in my business, or this is what I want in my life moving forward, or I just realized this is really important to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, the time and space, as I like to say too, I'm like, anybody can go on vacation. Okay.
Right.
You can book your own trip to Italy. You could go to the same exact places we went to by yourself or with your significant other or whoever.
Right.
But there's something that happens when it's put together for you and with spiritually like-minded people doing
Mm-hmm.
specific spiritual experiences,
Yes.
that creates
Yeah.
an experience, and it is an investment in yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, one that will keep giving back to you because like I heard somebody say,
Yeah.
and I've shared this before, um you can do a year's worth of healing in a week on retreat. And
Mm-hmm.
I really think there's something to be said about that. That is not
I
my
think,
quote, but I highly stand behind that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I would too, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
And
it's
it's,
changing you on so many different not changing you, it's working you on so many different levels,
yeah, I mean, and it does change you. Like, it changes you on a cellular level because of the way you're able to connect with the earth, and the way you're able to connect with spirit, and the way you're able to connect with other humans.
Yeah,
You are changed on the cellular level. I believe that
I believe
wholeheartedly as well. Like, yeah, it's,
you just don't
retreats
come
are
back.
awesome.
You just don't come back the same person in the best way possible. You just don't.
Right. Right. Yes.
Because you've had some deep experiences with people that
Mm-hmm.
carry with you for the rest of your life, like you'll always
Mm-hmm.
remember that retreat, that place. Even if you went back to it again, it'll be different because it
Right.
was, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Energy is
I
everything. Intention is everything.
It really is. And even just kind of an example of how retreats stick with you. And this is like a very practical example, but one of my biggest memories of my Bali retreat when I went to Bali was the sound of the bamboo wind chimes out in the farm.
Yes.
Okay. So, like, I still hear that sound in my head.
I can hear it now that you're saying that.
Yes. And so, when I am starting to feel like really anxious about something, I literally will tune into that sound and instantly just like chill. Or if I lay down at night and I'm having trouble relaxing and going to sleep, I will tune into that sound in my head and I go to sleep. Like, though, it's yeah, like those are like practical things that you get
Right.
from retreat, Not to mention all the other stuff that you get from the experiences, but it's things like that that it's like, oh, like, and then like all the memories come back of being there and doing the things that we did and
Dancing
reliving
at
the
a
experiences that
waterfall.
we, yes, yes, you know, petting the cat in YN's kitchen, like all of the things. Like it's,
Pearl.
I love that. I love that. It's also for me personally a way to like rewrite memories in my brain,
Mm,
right? Because
I love that.
especially with as an adult who experienced childhood trauma, right? Um,
Mhm.
being able to write over some of those memories with some of these types of experiences has been such a powerful healing tool. Um,
You
yeah,
just now shared that for the first time.
yeah.
That's
Well,
amazing.
I didn't really make the connection until I got back from this Italy trip, but I was like, man, like I've started my own healing techniques just from memories of my retreat trips, right?
That's amazing.
Like
Yeah.
the background on my background. That's
Yeah.
like the world's best beach, and it happens to be in Ireland. And there's times when I just find those pictures from that day we were there and just sit with what a powerful day that was. And it wasn't just powerful for me, it was powerful for everybody on that trip. And it created the energy in that moment of, yeah, like you guys, I don't know how to really fully describe it until you're in it and you're doing it, but it was such a remarkable moment in time that
Mm,
sometimes I just look at those pictures and reconnect with the power of that moment because we were all in it together.
yeah.
Um, and just kind of harness some of that energy that came from it because it's not something that would have ever happened for me here in my day-to-day life. It just wouldn't have.
Mm.
Um,
Was that Jessica brought that up? I don't know when you'll hear this what order these podcasts will go, but she brought up the running to the beach
mhm, yeah,
like warriors, like because I got this idea, I got this download, like when I was finished with class, like get up, like have everybody get up and just run like crazy warriors towards the beach. I remember
yep,
that. That was like a rewiring for me. It was just like we all
mhm,
just went "Ah," like
yep,
screaming like loud, wild people
yeah,
running to the beach. And it was just so like invigorating.
yep. That beach is magical.
Yeah.
I just, it's magical. And, we left some of our magic on that beach. There's no doubt in my mind.
And it's
Because
the
we
one right
spent,
behind you, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It's the one right behind me. Because do you remember being on the bus when we were on the trip? Like it would have been the day after I think it was the day after we ran out to the beach.
Okay.
Albert took us on the drive, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Slayhead Drive.
Yeah.
And we came around the corner and I freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, that's the beach we did yoga on. What?
From
And
like
to
a
see it
different
from,
view.
yes, from a totally different view. I mean, it was magnificent when we were on it, but then to see it from this view, I mean, I died. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Like
stunning.
it is. And, you know, I would never have had that if I hadn't said yes.
Mm.
You know, I would never have experienced the Temple of Ganesha in Bali, like where Ganesha is believed to have been buried, if I hadn't said yes. You know, I
Mm.
wouldn't have had the experiences I had at the Tirta pool if I had not said yes to Bali. I
Mm. You're making me want to cry because
yeah, that's
it's
that's why the
profound.
power of retreat. That is the power of retreat.
Yeah.
That is the power of retreat. To have all that and carry it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the things we talked about, and it's that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I always say I never will never have never taken for granted what I get to do, that I,
Mhm.
yeah, it's sometimes I just get in this mode of like this, I'm just doing,
Mhm.
but when I stop and think about it all, I'm like, whoa,
Mhm.
this is really cool.
Yeah, and I love Natalie's nickname for you. Like, because it's so spot on. Like, you're the waymaker.
Hmm.
Um, and for people who are searching, you're the waymaker. You make it happen. Yeah,
Um,
that was perfect. It's true.
I know she always calls me that. She's like, "You're the way
Yeah. Yep.
maker."
Yeah.
She calls herself she's the pusher. She calls herself the
She's
pusher.
the pusher. Yeah, the pusher.
Yeah.
Or the instigator. She could be the instigator, but yeah, yeah, definitely. So,
Yeah. It's
mhm.
it's been really cool to hear other people's stories retreats too. So thank you, Julie, for yeah, just sharing with me because I don't know what people get from
Mhm.
retreat.
Yeah.
But when I hear the stories, because it's sometimes you feel like, well, am I doing anything? Obviously I'm bringing the group together, but when you're in the midst of it, it's hard to know.
Mhm.
But I'm just really hearing what everybody's saying and taking it all in, and just, yeah, it's very cool to unpack that for myself, like what people are actually getting from these retreats is
Yep.
beyond, I mean, like it's beyond what I can fathom, I guess is a good word
Mhm.
for it. Because it's all,
Mhm.
but as I always talk about when you're on retreat, it's like it's all divinely guided. So
Right.
um people are guided to the retreats for a certain reason. They're going to get
Mhm.
what they need, and I'm guided to the places. Like it's
Right.
really just all divinely guided. I've never experienced anything like that. And it started
Mhm.
with Ireland.
Yep.
Obviously, I've been to Bali, so Bali to me was just like, oh, I lived here, I've traveled here. This is easy,
Mhm.
That was just like never something I thought was divinely guided. But
Mhm.
Ireland was the start of like literally hearing in my head, you need to take a group of people here. And I'm like, I was just trying to go on my own little trip, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever. Here we go. Yeah. But it's been very humbling.
If I have to, I
Oh, it's cutting out now, right at the end.
there,
Oh, there you are.
there we
Okay.
go. You
It
were
was cutting
frozen.
out
I
a
should
bit.
have taken a
But
screenshot. Yeah,
maybe that's the universal sign that it's time to bring this to a close.
go ahead.
Yeah, you're cutting out again. I don't know what's happening.
Oh.
I can kind of hear you though. But oh, there you are. Julie, thank you for taking the time to share your stories with us about the power of retreat. And thank you for, yeah, thanks for joining me on these journeys. It's been amazing. More
Yeah.
to come. More to come.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for having me. And thanks for letting me share. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. My pleasure.
Thank you, dear. Thank you to all of you listening. We still have some spots to Thailand happening January 14th through the 21st. If you're interested, that was also divinely guided as well. Very excited about that. And then since we brought up Ireland, Ireland's happening next August, the 14th through the 27th, I think. That's August 2024. So Bali is already set for January 2025. So there's some things coming up if you're interested, as well as we'll be doing some local in the United States retreats in Florida and Iowa. So yeah, there's things happening. So reach out to me, purelighealings@gmail.com, Pure Light Healing on Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, join us. Join us for the journey. You will not regret any part of this. You might just regret that you didn't do it sooner, but you won't regret while you're there.
There you go.
I'm like, dang, why didn't I do this a long time ago? Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. As always, we could talk all day, but it is getting to be that time of day.
Yeah.
All right.
It
we
is.
will see you all soon. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And yes, until next time.